Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good day and welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you guys here on this Tuesday, the 7th of July, 2020. Now, listen, there's a video that's going viral out there. Let's get the chart started right here. There's a video that's going viral out there. This video right here. I guess it was taken in Central Park, and there was a woman, and she's sort of hysterical. But I watched the video last night, and I just couldn't help but continue to focus on the poor little dog. Quite literally, she kept lifting him off of the ground by his neck, and the poor little fella, he couldn't even breathe or ask her to stop, and it was like she was completely oblivious to what she was doing to the poor little dog. I couldn't stand to watch the video. I mean, I'm a dog lover. I love dogs and cats. And, when I see something like that happen, it just kind of like, to a poor little dog. Watch the video, you'll see what I mean. The poor little dog, she quite literally had him up off of the ground by his neck and was dragging him around by his neck. And he couldn't get away, he couldn't do anything. And he was begging her to stop. And she wouldn't stop. She was so into whatever she was doing that I don't even think she noticed the poor little dog. And the poor little dog was just begging her and begging her. He wanted to breathe, and she had him by the neck. Oh, it was awful. I couldn't watch it a second time. It was such an awful, awful thing to watch. So horrible what she was doing to that poor little dog. Anyway, listen. I think I figured out everybody's looking for where the coronavirus started and where it come from, Everybody wants to know, and they think a lot of people think it comes from natural sources. Some people think that it was some sort of created in a laboratory or anything. I'll tell you what, I think it was created in a laboratory, and I'll tell you exactly where. I think this is the guy right here that did it. I think Emperor Ming the Merciless. He's my first, what do you call it, and where it come from? Evidently the planet MONGO. Flash Gordon's been there.
Hi guys, here we are for a very special episode of
the... Anyway, the planet MONGO. Let me see if I can get it here. They're showing where in the solar system it is. Anyway, that's where we should look for the origins of COVID-19. Because these scientists we have out there right now, finding the origins of COVID-19, I don't think they're doing anything to search and see where it come from. Here we got the biggest thing to ever happen here on our planet for the last 100 years. And what are they doing? I mean, I'm a layman here, okay? But I do know that these viruses have the whole genetic sequencing encoded in them. And the scientists should be able to look at that genetic sequencing, and they should be able to at least figure out, at the very least, whether it's man-made or it comes from it's a natural creation. We don't hear nothing from them, the official scientists. I would think that that's the first thing that they'd want to do, is investigate the origins of this and find out just exactly what it is. And break the sequencing, the gene sequencing apart, and be able to tell us definitively whether or not this thing was made in a laboratory or it was from natural origins, and they should be able to figure out even where it come from. This is a mystery, and it should be solved because it's affecting the whole world's population right now. It should be number one. Back in there was a time, well, it still is, where they have public enemy number one. This is public enemy number one for the whole world. An investigation should be ongoing. Anyway, let's take a look today at the gold price. Oh, this is massive, guys. It's just poised to break through $1,800. It's up at $1,796, and if what you see here is it's went up to this level rather quickly. And it's bouncing along right on that 1,795. That's a good signal that we're not going to see it really collapse from this little rally up to this point. Extremely bullish. This is an extremely bullish signal as far as I'm concerned. Now silver is it's went up, and it always follows gold. It's at 1834 today, and it's riding high. It's riding on the high side of its range, and it's extremely bullish too. So gold and silver has went extremely bullish. I don't really think I wouldn't really come out and say, hey, you know what, we've passed all of the problems yet, where it could go bearish, and the manipulation and everything else. That's not all over yet. But these signals that we're getting from this market really look positive. Let's just put it that way. Let's take a look now at cryptocurrency today. $268 billion with a Bitcoin dominance of 63.5% and a Bitcoin price of $92.77. And it appears fairly strong and stable. I've never seen Bitcoin, I'm going to tell you, going all the way back to when I first was introduced to Bitcoin, I've never seen a period of stability like this before. Never have I seen Bitcoin stay at one price range for such a long period of time and be so stable as it is. It's becoming the most stable asset class out there. You used to be always to talk about how cryptocurrency was so volatile and up and down and up and down, and it was true. It's going through a real period of stability lately, in around the low 9,000s, 92.77. Let's take a look at the Dow. She's off 198 points today on the day so far. 198 points down on the day. Now let's take a look at crude oil. It's up 23 cents today, $40.86 today for crude oil. So crude oil is looking pretty good. It's holding its price above $40. It wasn't very long ago we seen crude oil at a negative $40. Means they would have paid you $40 a barrel to take it. Talk about some sort of a boondoggle. I imagine there's guys out there that had tankers, and bought it and filled their tanker with it for free. And, I could see an oil price going up to $200 in the not that distant future, Anyway, let's take a look now at U.S. Treasuries, We see Treasury yields falling, all except for this 2-year. 2 years rising, but only very insignificantly. We're getting a fair, decent fall in yields when we move out on the longer end of the yield curve. When we go out to the 30-year, we're looking at 3.4 basis points, and it's at 1.4. And if we go back to the 10-year, we're looking at, looks like, my eyes, I think it's 0.6 something. It's down 2.5 basis points today on the 10-year. 0.65, is it? 0.66? My eyes aren't what they used to be. I should have my glasses on right now, to tell you the truth. The U.S. dollar index today. And what we're looking at is 96.85 on the U.S. dollar index. And the dollar's going along flat, sideways. There's an awful lot of deflation out there in the Main Street economy right now. Tremendous deflation in the Main Street economy. Meanwhile, we got the Wall Street economy, which is inflating. So we got both things happening at the same time. We got deflation and inflation happening at the same time. If they were to stand down, the Federal Reserve and the central banks, and stop the money creation, the system would fall apart in a giant, enormous deflation. But if they up what they're doing, up the ante, and keep upping the ante, then the system is going to inflate. Now, as far as the virus is concerned, probably toward around the end of the year, we're going to see this virus taper back at a certain point. There's a problem in my mind with this virus, a huge problem, is post-virus. After the virus is over, people who have had the virus, do they just walk off scot-free? I don't think so. I think with this virus is a huge problem out there, that there's post-virus complications. I'll call it complications that are starting to show up amongst some of the people who have recovered. And what percentage of the population that recovers from this virus has these post-virus complications, health problems that they have? One of the things that's being made manifest is something called chronic fatigue that they have after post-virus. And if you guys don't know what chronic fatigue actually is, what it is it robs your body of all energy. You have absolutely no energy. In a real bad case of chronic fatigue, it leaves a person bedridden, but they can take them into the hospital, check them out, and everything's functioning perfectly. All their organs are working, everything's fine, they got no tumors, they got nothing wrong with them, apparently, except they got no energy, absolutely no energy. Every little task, just for them to get out of bed and brush their teeth, is like a major accomplishment for a person that has chronic fatigue. Then there's another disease called fibromyalgia. And this is basically a fancy way the doctors use to describe muscle pains. Fibromyalgia, I mean, this is the way with a doctor, I mean, you go in there and if they can't, they'll diagnose you and they'll use some fancy term and then they'll say, pay me. Now pay me. And they'll tell you what you got, but in Latin. Anyway, fibromyalgia just basically means muscle pain. And this looks like another symptom, post-symptom of this. And we're not talking in a small way either. I'm hearing reports that the people who have the fibromyalgia from post-COVID-19 have it so bad that the pain is so bad they can't even sleep at night unless they have painkillers, painkiller medication, And what percentage of the population that gets these disorders, and possibly even worse disorders than these, even after they've finished with COVID-19 and are over it, they're still not over it. And what percentage of the population is this going to affect in this adverse manner? It would behoove a person not to catch this disease in the first place. Because it's such an unknown disease. Anyway, I've rattled on quite a bit. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.